Living every day in your head for free. You can tap away, but I will not hear you scream. You can break your keys, spread your toxicity, your world outside reality. In your room, a little hideaway, but you let it through. Enough to go insane. Living in the dark hasn't treated you well. You're building your own prison cell. Hey, wait, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Did I brush you off? Is it your lack of friends? We never met, even if you pretend. Am I in your debt? I don't owe you nothing. Don't say something you'll regret. Hey, wait, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Hate, rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it on me. Rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, lies telling you, don't waste it. I'm telling you, don't waste it. Lies telling you, don't waste it on me.
Audio because it's reset itself. Fucking brilliant. Right, there's my audio anyway. People can hear me again. Let's reset this. Properties. There we go. And now we've got these wonderful chaps back. There we go.
Howdy, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks a fucking load for that. Hello, everybody.
Mic check.
Mic check, mic check. OBS loves to
Mic
just
check.
turn off all of our bloody audio, as always.
I'm so glad it's not just me, man. How often did it happen, man, on the world of gaming? It is
Too much. Too much.
indeed.
Ah,
Good old OBS. Every time, some way, it fucks up.
it's just, we all love it. We absolutely love it. Hello to everybody in the chat, by the way. It's to be fair, when I got in from work and checked everything, I went on the computer and it restarted itself. I usually just leave it locked, but it had restarted itself and obviously done some form of update. But OBS has obviously decided it also wanted to update, so yeah, everything's been knocked off again, but at least we're back. I'm glad I noticed it before we started getting into introductions, because there's nothing worse than starting the introductions all the way through and you realise there's no audio. But never mind. Welcome everybody to the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. We are back once more. with another episode, of course, with just the three of us today. But I think that should be suffice for the topics at hand anyway, and what we're going to be speaking about. First and foremost, we will get into the introductions. General C, welcome, sir. How are you doing today? And what have you been up
Hello.
to?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Back on camera this week. Wasn't on cam last week. Was in a bit of a weird space last week, but I'm getting there. I haven't really been gaming all that much. The little gaming I have done has been DayZ. We talked about that in the green room. And mostly in my free time, I've been reading. I finally finished the first book in A Song of Ice and Fire. And I absolutely loved that. Way better than the TV show. Fleshes the characters out so much better. There's like some characters that sort of get pushed to the wayside a lot in the first season of Game of Thrones. And it misses out a lot of crucial like plot details with those characters.
So you're still on the first book then, or?
I just finished it a couple of days ago. I'm actually reading All Quiet on the Western Front at the moment. That's a really good book. Reading this before I watched the movie. But yeah, I'm probably going to start book 2 of Game of Thrones. Not far away from starting that. I picked up the box set, managed to get that pretty cheap.
That's cool.
On Prime
I
Day
read through
yesterday.
all of them, and I do agree with everything you said. And I think in book 3 or 4, it's been a while since I read them. They actually the storylines are very different. So, and I mean really different. Like people that die in the series are alive, and vice versa. And it's like an entire different story by book number 5. So
Yeah,
but it's awesome.
It's in the first book, like the two characters that are sort of their stories are drastically different, or their stories are they're pretty much non-existent. Is Bran and Arya? They're two characters that sort of get brushed over in the show, and it's like why would you do that? There's like some really important stuff here with their characters that sort of pushes forward those characters, and it's just ignored in the TV show. I hate when they do that. They remove crucial plot points to like integral characters.
Yep. Yeah, it happens
To be
a lot.
fair, though, I mean the books are very extensive, and you have to somehow make some cuts in a TV series to keep the pacing up. And I absolutely love this TV series. Seriously, I just find it very interesting because you can really read the books and watch the series, and you just get two entirely different experiences. So
it was the same with
without a doubt.
I was going to say it was the same with J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy. Like there was so much missed out of those.
Yeah, but not to the same degree. Like really, in the Lord of the Rings, yes, of course they have made some cutbacks or skipped over entire chapters in the books, in the movies. But at the very end, the main plot and twists and everything were exactly the same, and they are definitely not in the book. So, Jen, once you have read through them, we will have another talk about it. It's not going to spoil anything here.
I'm glad I managed to pick the box set up on Prime Day yesterday, because it was like it's supposed to be like 80 something pounds in the UK for the box set, and I got it for half price. I was like, that's not a deal I can just let slip.
Was it digital or was it Blu-ray?
Oh no, it's the books.
Book. Right, fair enough. But you meant you got the box set of that as well as having the books?
Oh, I've seen all the show. I've actually been watching it again while I've been also reading the books alongside. So it's just that last season of Game of Thrones. It kind of irks me how they brush over a lot of the stuff so quick. Like it's kind of annoying, and obviously I don't know what happens in terms of the books there. So
I mean, the books are not finished. You know, there are still 2 books missing.
And he's got other books that also tie into the world of Song on Fire and Ice. And then you got the.
Let me tell you, the books cannot end the way the TV series can.
That's what I'm looking forward to the most, because there's no way he's gonna look at the show and go, "Yeah, I'm gonna stick to that." After what they did with the show, and that's mainly down to them rushing the show.
It's literally impossible because of some stuff happening in the books. So.
I can't wait to continue reading that. I'm glad I picked up that box set.
I wish I didn't have the attention span of an absolute gnat when it comes to reading things. And it's the ADHD. Like
Yeah,
I would get
lost
like
that.
I would get like a chapter in and be like bored. Down goes the book.
Yeah, man,
that's,
I
that's
lost
been
that
my
as well.
problem with reading for years. It's only now recently I've really got into reading. Well, I can't really say I've really got into reading. I've read very few books in my almost 30 years on this planet, and I wanted to change that. I just want to like keep my brain sort of active with reading, and I'm a bloody slow reader. Like I always sort of read something, and I feel like I have to read it twice to make sure I've read it properly and understand it properly. I don't know if it's something that will change as I get more into reading. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. Just opening a book and reading it at the moment. That's why I've not been gaming as much. So it's a nice change of pace, to be honest. It keeps the brain active and it keeps your imagination active. But the way you like sort of picture characters in books and the way you sort of like maybe like in your mind the internal dialogue of that character, what they might sound like and all that, and what that world might look like. I think there's nothing that can compare to that, to be honest. Like, it's your own visual story in a way. And it's something special that I didn't realize I enjoyed so much until now.
Yeah. Yeah, I was to be fair, I was always into the military, but more the obviously the creator of Band of Brothers, at least the series. There was the books beforehand by Darren E. Ambrose, and he did Band of Brothers, Wild Blue, and then numerous others that are obviously being turned into series. The Mighty Eighth, which is being turned into a series as we talk, by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg. So that's all of those started off as books. So, and I've read those books. I've got those as collections, but so I like them, but that's more like historical documentation as it is anything else. So it's a bit more interesting to me than it is reading like
Have you read
fictional stuff.
the book version of All Quiet on the Western Front?
No, I haven't actually. Nope.
Oh, I'd highly recommend it. There was a few points in the book yesterday in the few chapters I read last night that literally almost reduced me to tears because it makes you think, shit, what if you were in this situation with your friends?
Yeah.
Like they're your best friends that you've grown up with. Because obviously the story revolves around a group of German boys that enlisted from school.
Yeah.
They were encouraged to enlist by their
and given
their
such a
headmaster, I
false,
think it is.
yeah, it was such a false representation of what was actually happening. But they were all like, "We're going to protect the country. We're going to fight on the front lines," and it just wasn't what they said it was.
Yeah, it's a bloody amazing book. I'm enjoying it, and
Have you
I
watched the-
can't wait to finish this and watch the movie.
Oh, have you not watched the movie yet?
No, I got this with intentions to read this first before I watch the movie.
Right,
So
right.
I finally got around to reading this, and I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait to watch the movie, which probably be likely tomorrow night. I'll watch the movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's phenomenal film. As I think Boxy, you'll have seen it as well. All Quiet on the Western Front. Such a really great war film and really well represented, I think. And the good thing about Netflix recently, actually, they've done two very good. Another one that I would recommend was The Forgotten Battle, and that's the one based in the Netherlands. Obviously, we're in occupied Netherlands with regards to the underground resistance over there, and how that kind of transpires. So you see that from the aspect of the Dutch resistance and the Germans, and obviously the English as well, that have kind of attempted to come over before official D-Day. And then you've got All Quiet on the Western Front, which is the perspective of World War One from the Germans, which is, again, doesn't often happen. You don't see the German perspective because, of course, people just assumed all of them were, as they quoted, Nazis, but no, that isn't and wasn't the case. Like, German soldiers were normal people as well, and they were just fed a really incorrect kind of ideas and things that they were fighting for that they didn't understand, and that's kind of how war goes, unfortunately. One side's told complete propaganda, and and then you end up in a huge situation, and that's what you've seen in Russia. Like the Russians are fighting something that they believe is entirely different to what they're actually fighting.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the scary part about war is the lies you're told.
Yep. Yep. But back to gaming.
Yes.
You've been mentioning though, Jen. You have done a little bit. You have played a little bit of DayZ in your drop time. How's that
Yeah,
going?
I've been playing a little bit of DayZ. Pretty much my gaming experience this week is just DayZ, and other than gaming, just reading
Yes.
and obviously life stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Awesome.
Boring life stuff that no one really likes to talk about.
Oh, we're all there. Hello to everyone in chat as well. Thank you for joining us today, all 50 plus of you at the moment. Very much appreciated the support, and of course, drop the like and share it out if you can. That would very much help. Hello to Boom as well. I've seen Boom in chat there. Hello, sir. Boxy, how are you today, sir? What you been up to? What you been playing?
Thanks, man. I'm doing good. I have been playing. Well, you know what I've been playing, and I've played nothing else right now, and it's Diablo. Super hooked. Just can't stop playing. Almost level 70 now. Did some grinding on nightmare dungeons. I actually, you and your friend Pete helped me out to get to World Tier 4. But World Tier 4
is so hard.
It's really hard, especially when we unlocked it. I was level 64 or 5, I want to say, and it was simply too hard. It is like, yes, the EXP boost and the loot boost and everything is awesome, but it's solo, yeah, no way. Every enemy is like level 73 or more, and if they are 8-9 levels higher than you on tier 4 where they do extra damage, it's just a nightmare if you're not ready. So I decided to go back to World Tier 3, do some nightmare dungeons. I've been grinding them really, like, to level up my character. I feel like that's the fastest way to level up and skill up. I do like nightmare tier 19 solo now, and I beat the dungeons in like 5 minutes or so, and then I just run through them so I can do like 10 dungeons in an hour, upgrade my sigils, get the XP, get the loot, and it's fabulous. I'm having a blast, and as soon as I hit level 70 and unlock my 3rd Paragon board, I'm gonna go back to World Tier 4, man. So yeah, that's been it's been an awesome ride. But how about yourself, man? How are you doing? What are you playing?
Yeah, so I've been I got convinced the other day to re-download GTA and play that a little bit with Pete, who you met, as well as playing a little bit more Street Fighter and playing naturally, like everybody else. Well, apart from Jen, who hasn't got it yet, but Diablo. And obviously playing through that. Got the World Tier 4 again with the help of Pete the other day. But World Tier 4 is an absolute nightmare. As you know, it is just so much more difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna work towards trying to grind up there. I have found though the grind beyond level 60 is like super tough.
It is. It slows down extremely,
slow.
man.
Yeah.
It really does, yeah.
Really slow. So I'm kind of hoping that somehow speeds up, or there's a method of speeding it up without being like cheap, like a lot of other people seem to be, which is they're kind of using cheap methods to level up and spam certain things before they, like exploits in the game, and then they'll have to patch them every time. So I'm trying to avoid that. But other than that, yeah, been playing GTA, doing some of the newer heist missions and things like that.
Nice.
I'm on performance ray tracing mode, which runs really smooth. I've got to admit though, even going back to it after all this time, I don't know whether or not it's just me or without a side-by-side, but it doesn't look that much different to what I remember. Like it still looks like GTA 5 looked like.
Yeah, but that's like it's really hard. If you have played a game in the past 10 years ago and you remember it looking great and you have a certain image in your head and then you just see the upgrade, you say, oh, man, that's exactly how I remember it. I know a lot of people feel that way when you look at like FPS boost and HDR and all the upscaling you get with back compat titles. But then if you really go back, like Arkham City is a perfect example. It runs super awesome on the Series X with HDR and FPS boost and the 16 times anisotropic filtering and everything. It looks fantastic. And you open it, that's exactly how I remember it. But then if you go back and boot it up on the 360, you really see the difference, and that's just the trick of your memory, man.
I think the 360 I would agree with, but having played it on the Xbox One, obviously I bought it on the Xbox One and played it there as well when that version came out. Like I still don't really see a massive difference, or at least I don't feel like there's a massive difference in fidelity. At least performance wise, yes, it feels smoother because I've went back into fidelity mode on 30 frames and played that, and it doesn't feel as good. So having the performance ray tracing mode's nice. It's a nice addition. So they've got fidelity performance mode, which is 120, performance RT, which is 60, and then fidelity mode, which is 30. And to be honest, fidelity versus performance ray tracing in visual aspects, it's so hard to discern what is what. It doesn't, like, I switched between them several times and I'm like, what's the difference? Like, what is the difference? Like, I can't tell.
What are they ray tracing? I think, if I remember, it was only shadows, right?
Yeah, shadows, and I think very minor reflection things like in puddles. So it's you only really getting them in like when it's raining, which isn't that often. But it's not like full reflections on cars or anything like that. It's like really basic stuff, really low level. But it's an added like bonus. I think it might be a little bit of lighting as well. That said, though, it's not much of a change. I think I noticed, and it sounds odd, but I noticed a much bigger difference in the free update we got to Red Dead Redemption 1 than I did notice this next gen update for GTA. And I feel sorry for anybody who bought the next gen version of GTA 5 because it is like visually there's no change. Like
Isn't there rumored to be a proper Red Dead Redemption remaster or something coming?
Yeah, that's
because it was like accidentally listed by I think the South Korean rating board or something like that for video games.
was it not also
but that
part
was
of
like
the
6 months ago. So
I was going to say, was it not also part of the NVIDIA leaks?
Yeah, I think so. But last week, Colin Moriarty, I'm not a fan of him, but he came out and said that he knows for a fact that this the announcement of that Red Dead remaster is imminent, whatever that means, within the next weeks or so. So we shall see. We shall see. I would be up for that, man. Red Dead 1 is one of my all-time favorite games. If it's done properly, not just, the lackluster things like they did with the San Andreas remaster.
That was atrociously bad when that launched.
Yeah. But if they do it right, I mean, like really enhanced graphics, performance, but then I would be up for it. But it's hard to do because it really is already looking really good on the Series X. You get FPS boost, so you can play it at 60. On me, you have the auto HDR, and you have like the upscaling and everything. So you can play it at 4K 60 already. So it really depends what they do with the remaster.
It'd be nice if they remastered the both of them, because I would love to play those back to back.
Yeah.
Replay those back to back, should I say. It's been a long time since I played the first game.
I think Take-Two and Rockstar need to pull their finger out and do a Bully remaster. I mean, that's what we all want, really.
Wasn't there supposed to be a sequel in the works for that, or rumored to be a sequel in the works, and apparently it got like cancelled or something?
Probably.
Whether that information is legit, I don't know. But
Yeah. I mean, everything that's
seems to
come
be
out
the
of the
way.
Nvidia leaks has been true so far. So, be a case of digging out that Nvidia list again and seeing what we're missing that hasn't yet come out that probably could come out. We know Final Fantasy IX remake was on that list, and we know now that that is in development. Thank God. Apparently, and
I
one.
mean, pretty much everything from the Nvidia list came true.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I did get a good bit of news though about Final Fantasy IX Boxy. Apparently, they're remaining in terms of the battle system. It's remaining ATB from the original active time battle system from Final Fantasy IX.
Nice. I know there's one happy Dutch. There is one happy Dutch right here.
I will be getting, if
That's
that
awesome.
is true, I will be getting that day one. I mean, I'll be getting it anyway, but I'll be getting that day one. I can't wait for Final Fantasy. That's like up there with my. I put Final Fantasy 9 after much deliberation above 7. So my top tier Final Fantasy list is 6, 9, 7 is my top 3 Final Fantasies.
Hang on, I have to think about this. On top, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I stand by that. It's the best one I have played to date. It is absolutely awesome. So it would be unfair to put the original Final Fantasy VII in place too.
Yeah.
Then I would place 9. And I did like 10, man. I enjoyed 10.
Yeah. Did you ever play like 1 to 6?
Yes, but it's been a while.
Well,
But
did you ever
I
think about
remember
picking
it
up
very
the?
fondly.
Did you ever think about picking up the Pixel remasters that they've recently done?
Yes, I did. The question is where? You know,
Yeah.
I could pick it up on PlayStation.
Now you need to pick it up on the Ally.
Exactly. So I should actually. I wait for the next sale, man.
They usually do.
I don't.
To be fair, they usually do bundles on those type of things. Like they usually bundle the originals together, especially on Steam. But yeah, so I think for Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm gonna withhold full thoughts on that until the entire story has been laid out and remade.
The trilogy is laid out.
So I know 2 looks far better than 1. The like Rebirth looks phenomenal so far.
It does, but to be fair, the first one did also look awesome for its time.
And I do like the one thing I do praise them for, although I still disagree with the fact that they're releasing it in chunks. I do praise it for the fact that they're expanding the story and the backstory of each character. I do like
the
that.
way how they added side quests and everything. It is done. They've done a great job, man.
I just hope as the overall story progresses and the way they do the world and or the overworld or whatever, I hope that works well for the last 2 parts of the trilogy, to create the one final game. But we'll see. We shall see. But gents, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, of course. The Activision Blizzard deal. And I've got some quotations actually I want to read, which I'm going to go on to Twitter for, because I got a nice little breakdown, I think it was by, and I'm going to go into my bookmarks here. If people just wait there a second. Boop. There we go. By Stephen Totillo, who is by Kotaku, believe it or not, but he did give a good breakdown, as much as I don't like Kotaku. And I'll read it out first and then we'll discuss it. So first and foremost, he said, first, the gist is that the FTC failed to convince the judge that Microsoft Activision was likely to pull COD from PlayStation up substantially lessen competition in game library, subscription and cloud markets. Second, there's been a lot of discussion around during the hearings about Switch and if it was part of the market that would be impacted. Court feels Switch is part of it, but said FTC had met burden based on internal documents to show Switch wasn't in the high-end console market relevant to merger. The FTC and court agreed that PCs were not in a relevant market. Judge didn't seem convinced by Microsoft's arguments that multi-game subs and cloud weren't in their own markets, but didn't rule on that. Judge was with the FTC in saying the US was a relevant market. I don't know why they would say it wasn't a relevant market. Judge saw no proof MS would pull Call of Duty. Despite extensive discovery, including nearly 1 million documents and 30 depositions, the FTC has not identified a single document which contradicts Microsoft's publicly stated commitment to make Call of Duty available on PlayStation. Cited consistent testimony from Microsoft executives that they wouldn't pull it, cited deal plan that factored in PlayStation sale, cited Phil Spencer's claim of reputation damage if reneged on promises, cited lack of example of MS pulling a popular multiplayer game. Regarding FTC's argument that Microsoft's Call of Duty promises aren't good enough, particularly Microsoft's Call of Duty offer to Sony, the judge says the FTC's heavy reliance on PlayStation chief Jim Ryan's testimony is unpersuasive. Suggests the deal is rough for Sony but good for the players. And then quotations, Sony opposes the merger. Its opposition is understandable. Before the merger, Sony paid Activision for exclusive marketing rights to allow Sony to market Call of Duty on PlayStation, but restricted Xbox's ability to do the same. Then give document references. After the merger, combined firm presumably will not agree to such restrictions. Before the merger, a consumer wanting to play Call of Duty console game had to buy a PlayStation or an Xbox. After the merger, consumers can utilize cloud to play on the device of choice, including, it is intended, on Nintendo Switch. Perhaps bad for Sony, but good for Call of Duty gamers and future gamers. During closing arguments, the judge was curious about the FTC's experts' 20% conversion rate of PlayStation Call of Duty players switching to Xbox if COD went exclusive. FTC failed trying to explain it. Judge said, so the 20% figure is not based on evidence, it is based on an assumed input. Even lowering the conversion rate to 17.5% means Professor Lee's model estimates it would not be profitable to withhold Call of Duty from PlayStation. That is, the costs in lost PlayStation Call of Duty sales outweigh the benefits of more Xbox console sales. Microsoft had their own expert, Dr. Carlton, go after the FTC's expert Lee. Analysis. The FTC chose not to challenge or even address Dr. Carlton's identification of material flaws in Professor Lee's model. The criticism thus stands unscathed and unpersuasive. The judge didn't buy FTC's argument that Microsoft's past actions around ZeniMax Bethesda were predictive of its actions around Call of Duty, saying neither Starfield nor Redfall are remotely similar to Call of Duty. The judge doubts deal stifles innovation, says the FTC only cited Sony's reluctance to share secrets with Activision post-merger, protecting Sony's decisions to delay collaboration with Microsoft and therefore PlayStation users' access to Microsoft content is not pro-competitive. Judge skeptical of the FTC succeeding in arguments risk of potential foreclosure. Timed delay of Call of Duty, releasing inferior versions of one console to advantage another, etc., etc. Said the FTC didn't provide much evidence for that. As for gaming subscriptions, the judge assumes Gamepass would exclusively get Call of Duty, which she says, citing Microsoft expert Carlton, would actually lower the costs for many gamers and consumers and harm none. Says it would expand Game Pass, incentivizing MS to spend more to support more games on Game Pass. Judge says FTC failed to provide analysis to dispute those pro-competitive effects on Call of Duty exclusive to Game Pass. Says FTC's argument that Activision could negotiate a Game Pass deal without the merger is contrary to Activision's resistance so far. As for the cloud market, where MS ran into trouble with the European and UK regulators, the former extracting contractual promises with cloud competitors in order to grant approval, the judge here thinks that those contracts with the likes of Nvidia makes the difference. The combined firm will probably not have an incentive to breach these agreements and make Activision content exclusive to xCloud. Judge concludes that a merger like this deserves scrutiny, that scrutiny has paid off. Cites MS's commitment to Call of Duty on PlayStation, Switch, and its cloud commitments. The FTC has not shown a likelihood it will prevail on its claim this particular vertical merger in this specific industry may substantially lessen competition. To the contrary, the record evidence points to more consumer access to Call of Duty and other Activision content. And thus, the PI was denied. So, Boxy, I want to get your thoughts and ideas on this one. What do you think about what is going on? Actually, before I get that, I need to change something quickly here because there's Big Cloud joining in on the fun.
Ooh, the man.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Good
sir. Hello.
evening.
Good evening.
Doing
How are you doing,
good.
sir? What you been up to?
40 pounds lighter. That's what I've been doing outside this whole thing. Been doing great. Enjoying the summer.
Awesome stuff. Well, we're just about to get into the nitty gritties, Big Cloud, and I'm definitely keen to hear your thoughts as well as we get into it. But Boxy, following what I've just kind of ran through there, the breakdown of the full decision from the judge in the FTC preliminary injunction case, what are your thoughts on the results and her findings?
Well, she got it. Obviously, she got it. It is so. I want to say one thing up front. I've been saying this entire deal, and I will say this. I continue saying it. Activision Blizzard, the deal is not for me, and it won't be for most console gamers. Seriously, with all the excitement around this, we have to be realistic and temper expectations here. The thing is, at the end, what are we console gamers gaining? We will get Call of Duty in Game Pass starting earliest 25. More will not change in the foreseeable future. Even if Microsoft decides to bring back some of the classic IPs, we won't see them before the next 6-7 years.
Yeah.
New StarCraft won't be here for at least 6-7 years if it get green light, even if it get
4.
Yeah. So we're talking here like, okay, maybe one or two of the beloved classic IPs will return in 2029, 2030, something like that. Yeah. So in the immediate future, as console gamers, what are we gaining? We won't gain much. Yeah. But I do get the importance for the industry itself. At the very end, it will make Microsoft a lot stronger in the gaming market. I can also see, and because we have seen it in the past, Microsoft shifting focus. You know, they have shifted their focus from console to PC. It's just a fact, yeah. They treat the console gamers as second-class citizens. And what happens if the mobile aspect enters the game? So that's why I'm not overly excited about the deal itself. I really want it to be over almost. But at the end of the day, we will still gain a lot. We will see some of the older games from Activision Blizzard coming to Game Pass. We will see that happening probably really soon after the deal closes. And at the very end, it's a good thing if Microsoft becomes a stronger competitor on all storefronts. It's good that Google will get and Apple will get competition on the mobile end, because that's what Microsoft said. They intend to do their own storefront on those devices. They will have a strong foothold in mobile gaming. Blizzard is also getting a boost, and maybe we will see more than like a Diablo game every 12 years from Blizzard now. So that's really cool. And to the judge itself, I mean, you mentioned so many things. I don't even know where to start, Dutch. You can't do this to me. You have like 10 different topics here in one. So
It was a
from
good.
the top
It
of
was a
my
good
head, when you-
overall. The breakdown from the judge was very in depth. She highlighted every point, the point that she
Yes.
disagreed with, the point that she's agreed with, and overall give the weighing
And I
estimate.
think, yeah, and I think at the very end, when I've seen the statements, even during the court case, it was like, yeah, okay, she gets it. Like when she was asked about Game Pass and how it works and why it would be good if Call of Duty comes in there, and then I can't even remember whether it was an FTC lawyer or someone from Sony saying that it's not good and that Sony won't be able to make or compete with that. Then her only answer was, so why isn't Sony doing something like that? If it's so what prevents Sony from doing something like that? And so I had the feeling, okay, if you look at this on a factual basis, you will come to the obvious thing that this is not harming competition, it's not harming consumers. And I think that is the most important thing we can get out of this
I think
deal,
Boxy, to that
and
point as
this
well.
decision.
I was going to say, to that point that you're mentioning there regarding consumers, I think the FTC's major downfall in this preliminary injunction was that they never, at any point, did they attempt to address the consumer, which is the whole point in mergers and acquisitions. Is it?
Yeah, the judge had to tell the FTC to basically stop bringing up Sony.
Yeah, this isn't about Sony; it's about the consumer.
It's about the consumer.
This benefits the consumer greatly. It just doesn't benefit Sony. That's all. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it will only force Sony to compete stronger and bring more value to their gamers, more customer-friendly services or games or whatever. And so that's really, really good thing. And at the very end, it is so obvious. It is a stupid argument to put Nintendo out of the picture. That's stupid. And the judge recognized that, yes, Nintendo offers console gaming. Yeah. She also came to the conclusion that the cloud really isn't that much of an argument, because basically not an existing market. Yeah. That you have to separate like PC and console space, also something, and the mobile space. Yeah. Different markets, different target audiences, different businesses. So at the very end, the reasoning seemed really, really logic. And I think you will get to that in a second. What then happened in the UK with the CMA?
Yeah.
But I find it really good, and I'm happy that this happened, because even though I don't see much for me coming out of this deal, I can see the importance, because even if it would have been blocked, if it would have been blocked by the CMA, if it would have been blocked by the FTC, then it would just show that when it comes to these acquisitions and mergers, we wouldn't look at facts, but it would be ideology driven. Yeah. And I think that this is the most important part to take away, that if you apply the law and if you apply logic and reason, things like this can happen. And yeah, man, it's exciting. Finally, the ABK discussion got exciting again, after being like actually quite boring for months.
The whole trial brought up a whole bunch of fun things to talk about.
Fun things,
leaked consoles, leaked like pricing, leaked games.
We weren't getting that anytime soon.
No.
After that's the one part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
What do you think? What do you make of this?
What, the circus?
Yes.
The circus.
The circus that is, and the decision that followed.
I mean, first of all, like, you already know I'm still recovering. A lot of the diehards are still recovering after that abysmal, disgusting showcase we got for PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, when I look on Twitter and I see dudes crying that this deal, went through, I'm like, did you guys just have amnesia of what we just had? This is why I said competition is needed. I even put a tweet out in regards to this. I'm happy that it went through. Mm-hmm. I need competition in Sony right now. I need SOCOM to come back. I need my resistance I need my games to come back. But of course, we can't get into that. We have to cry about the same thing that's been going on for the longest. And now dudes are got their fingers crossed and hoping that the whole thing gets appealed because, remember correctly, the judge's son works at Microsoft, but not at Xbox. But people are thinking that that's going to overturn it. And it's like, they already talked about that. In fact, if you guys follow Tom
She already brought that up at the beginning of the case.
Well, not only that, but the
FTC had a chance to basically say that it's a conflict of interest.
But not only that, but to add to that, she'd already been in the Gamers lawsuit where she'd already brought it up there, and the FTC requested that same judge for this trial. So they requested that judge. They're not going to bring that up because they requested the judge.
And people need to understand it. The FTC did choose her.
Yeah.
So it's like it does that flat out just destroys the argument. And as soon as it was over with, we had, I think it was the CMA saying they're open to renegotiate or something like that with the whole thing. So that pretty much just told you to stamp us on the approval. It's done. And that right there is good to see. Now let's look at what Boxy brought up earlier, and I agree completely. Like, a lot of us are not complete Call of Duty diehards here. Like, I bought the latest one, but that was gifted. I played that. But again, I'm not really too keen on the whole Call of Duty thing, but I do know the gravity of that game. So let's go to mobile. That's going to be big for mobile. It's going to be a big poster boy for Gamepass. That's really what it is. I think a lot of people need to understand that. This is where Call of Duty is really going to serve as. It's going to be the poster boy for Gamepass. You're probably going to see another price hike of some sort when it eventually gets down there, and they can do that. You'll have that be the poster boy. You'll have Halo go back to its roots and not go a live service. They don't need that game as a live service. Make that game what it is. Have Gears be its own thing. You have plenty of games to choose from, especially with Starfield. Starfield can be your next game to fall back on. So that they already have a lot of stuff that they can work with. In terms of games, I was actually looking up games, for Activision. Now, aside from Spyro and Crash, you might see those. You might, if they wanted to bring those. Games like Prototype. I think that would benefit Microsoft. Why? It's something that's established. Number two.
Give me Soldier of Fortune. Give me Soldier of Fortune, please.
Yeah. I don't think people care for... Well, I think Sekiro could be their game, too, to get into that Souls conversation if they wanted to get a sequel going. I don't know.
Yeah, but they only own the publishing rights for that.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So Activision, so I'm not sure. That's my point earlier. Microsoft already has so many IPs that they could bring back. We could talk about this constantly on the podcasts. Oh, aren't they bringing back Banjo? Why are they not bringing back Killer Instinct or this or that? And why would it be any different if you add another 100 legacy IPs to this? I could see them bring back one or two of those. They bring back Fable now big time. They bring back Perfect Dark big time. But it's not that they don't do it at all. But don't expect like 10, 12, 15, 20 different IPs coming back. That's not going to happen. It's not going to. So, and the question really is what it is. I would love for Tony Hawk to come properly. For instance, would love that.
I agree. I do think just to add on to what you're saying, to go to that too, because obviously, I think Bobby Kotick came up. I think it was like he's going to pocket 300 million, 400 million,
400,
like that, 400 million. So that's pretty much his golden parachute. We talked about this off air. This is basically his golden parachute. He's going to be gone. Once you get Bobby Kotick out of here and you go through unionization for ABK, I can see things getting better in general where we can have that conversation where you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in general that you heard, in development at a better pace. But right now, they have to do a lot of that. They have to clean out the entire company as it is of everything. There's a lot of stuff at that division that needs to be fixed. Absolutely. And that's the work culture for one, and just the overall, just the urge, you know what I mean? Like the passion, it feels like. All these games feel like just made on a conveyor belt. There's not much.
Call of Duty specifically is on a conveyor belt, and the one good thing we already know is Microsoft have already said their intentions to slow it down and do it every 2 years instead of every year. It gives it a bit of breathing space. It allows it to innovate a little bit better with Call of Duty. It's not just the newest Call of Duty. And every year they say it's the biggest, baddest Call of Duty they've ever made, but it's literally yearly iteration, so it can't be. It can't be.
That's the point. Like back in the day, Call of Duty was made by one developer under Activision. Then it became two, and then three.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need three teams working on Call of Duty. They can get one of those teams to go and do something else.
At the height of it as well, Jen, it was 7 teams that had everybody, including Blizzard, working on Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, that was like something that happened like more recently in recent years. They pushed
over the
all their
last
teams
4 or
into
5 years,
prioritizing Call of Duty, and that was a big thing in the pandemic as well. They pushed more and more of their teams into getting Call of Duty out so that they could stick to that Call of Duty coming out every year basis during the pandemic. And
let me ask you something.
Some of those Call of Duty games that came out, they came out buggy mess.
Let me ask you something. We all know that they canceled everything. Activision is not doing anything else besides Call of Duty. Do we really expect Microsoft to change that in the near future? Because that would mean that Call of Duty probably wouldn't come out yearly anymore.
Well,
it would mean that the production quality would go down. So what do we really think is Microsoft going to do? Are they messing with that?
I'm sure
formula?
Call of Duty. I'm sure there isn't. There isn't a Call of Duty lined up for 24 at the moment. 2023 is the one that's lined up, and they don't have an official one lined up for next year as it stands. I think the next one's after that. The contract that Sony
we had
got
the same rumor last year when that douchebag, what it's called, that blocks everyone, Jason Schreier, came out and said, "Hey, there's not going to be a mainline Call of Duty 23," and here we are. So who knows?
I agree. What was I about to say? Now that I think about it, in terms of mainline CODs, I mean, personally, I'm guessing their perspective on the game would just be all about the DLC at that point and just drag it out as long as they possibly can. Remember how COD Ghost had like just extra stuff for the sake of having extra stuff?
They've also the good thing about it is they've already got a live service model implemented in Warzone. So they don't need to focus on getting out a mainline Call of Duty as long as the content for Warzone is kept up to date.
Yeah,
and they've
they'll
got
just support those Call of Duty games for longer. That's all it'll be.
But here's the caveat, though. Do you guys see the game?
I don't see this happening anytime soon.
With half.
Why would you do that?
Like for example, like we've been seeing this where like they like to launch just a multiplayer first, and then you'll get the single player later. Do y'all think that's going to be like a roadmap for them? Like they'll immediately go straight for multiplayer releases, and then it's like, hey, we'll have a roadmap. You get your single player game part of this on this month, and then DLC expansions throughout XYZ. Do y'all think that's how they're gonna do it? Because it is curious to see how they're gonna keep this game going. It is curious.
I don't think that they will change something in the first at least 3 years after the deal. Seriously, they have so much work to do. They have to implement all those studios in the Xbox organization. They have like real culture problem there that they have to kind of fix. They have to do all the onboarding and everything. And Call of Duty, besides of course Candy Crush, is the money printer of Activision. Why would you change that formula? They will bring it to Nintendo as soon as possible, and they will try to push it on PC wherever they can. It will come probably to Epic Store. It will probably come to Steam day one. You don't have to go through Battle anymore. Stuff like that, yes, absolutely gotta happen. But I don't think that they will change the core formula of yearly Call of Duty releases with a very high production quality. And for that, they need all the studios that Activision needs right now. It's not like magically suddenly Microsoft owns them and they need only half the studios to make the Call of Duty games in the same way.
It happen instantly. It will happen over time, though. You'll see a scale back at some point. It might not be a massive scale back, but you'll see less of Activision's teams working on Call of Duty.
Yeah,
and that will probably be like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, like I said, at least 3 years. 4 or 5 years could also be something in that time span. Then they might change something. They might transition it over to more like ongoing service kind of game, you know.
Yeah, that's what I feel. I feel like
every second year, and with that, you get that. And then they greenlight all the games we actually want from the Activision Blizzard deal, all
the stuff we
but
actually
then it
want.
takes like 5 years to make them, and that's why I'm saying, there is a lot to be excited about this deal, but I just want to make sure that we set our expectations right. It's not that we are getting like suddenly all the games we want in the next 5 years. It's just not gonna happen.
Agree with you there.
We're not gonna happen.
I think the vast
It's
majority.
going to be a slow
If you
burn.
are excited about Call of Duty coming to game, and even with Call of Duty to Game Pass, we learned that also from the deal that earliest 25 is the first Call of Duty that could come day one to Game Pass. Yes, they will put in. If they can. We don't know about that yet. Yeah, we don't know what kind of weird ass deals they have with Sony because there are still existing contracts. So we have no idea if they will bring the last 3, 4, 5 years of Call of Duties into Game Pass. We don't know that. Yeah, so just make sure to expect the right things coming for you out of this deal from this merger. There's just not much gonna happen in the console space in the next foreseeable couple of years. You know,
we know
this is a give and take deal. It's going to take a minute for you to get the results. It's going to take a minute.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while. It's, to be fair, we know the original reason for this merger had nothing to do with Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a lovely byproduct that's going to make them a lot of money. It's all to do with mobile. It's all to do with King. Like, that was, as much as people don't want to believe that, it was definitely a King purchase, which was tied to Activision Blizzard, because Activision Blizzard did actually want, like, their shareholders wanted rid of the current hierarchy. They wanted
Candy Crush and Call of Duty are going to print Microsoft so much money that they can then take and put into other franchises that they've already got.
More talent.
That's the thing. Exactly. I think this is like really the biggest benefit that we will see out of this. Honestly, is like the first thing what BitCloud said: talent. Microsoft as a game publisher, as a game developer, will become a way more attractive place for developers to actually work there, because you have so many perspectives. Yeah, you can switch in between the classic Xbox studios into the Bethesda studios. You can move on to work for something on Blizzard, and even if you want to go and do some mobile games, there are options for you. So going in there, it will attract talent, no doubt.
This is a revolving door effect they got going on.
Exactly. So that's definitely one thing. And the second thing is, of course, with the gaming division within Microsoft growing so significantly overnight. Like, okay, now it's not like only making, I don't know, 5 to 10% of the Microsoft revenues. That leads this share increases, and it becomes an even more important business unit within Microsoft that will make it way easier for other investments. May it be in new games, may it be in other studios, or even more acquisitions. It's like, of course, if your division has a bigger revenue in the company, it makes it easier to invest in, like we do we give Playground even a third team to work on a third game besides Horizon and Fable, or stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I think that this is really the thing that excites me about this. There is so much potential for Xbox as a division, as a gaming division within Microsoft through this.
I would say that the other major benefit, which completely is not looked at by regulators at all, although should always, and I think it should be part of regulators' decisions for any merger going forward. I know it's going to be about consumers primarily, but I think for any decision going forward, they have to take into account the human factor behind it as well. How does this benefit staff? Interview the staff at the company and think, okay, so what do you make of the current situation at your current employer? Do you think that this merger would benefit yourselves for your mental health and otherwise? Is this going to provide more opportunities for you?
Job security, all that good stuff.
And if that is the case, and that is a benefit,
most important is job security.
Yeah. And the one major thing that comes out of this merger, if you take out the whole thing, all of the game stuff, and you look at just the human factor involved, the developers, They're in such a shit predicament at the moment with the way things have been going on at Activision Blizzard over the years. They're being forced by authorities as well as regulators to sort their act out. There's a few tainted people still left at the top, which will be gone once its merger is complete. Thank God. Then the unionization begins for developers, QA testers, etc. And then they get better treatment. Now, inevitably, one thing that comes of the better treatment and better work-life balance for developers is a byproduct that the games are better. They're putting more energy into these games. They're more enthusiastic about coming to work and actually doing the jobs again. They're more excited to be coming and working at that place again.
And this transitions into better games.
Exactly. So in the long run, you're going to get better games, better content, fresh ideas, more innovation.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Less
Good
exploits.
morale for staff members.
Yeah. So that's I think a factor that regulators don't include in any merger acquisition talk that they need to.
Yeah.
They never include it, and it doesn't make any sense to not include it because that's a huge factor in what would benefit.
I love this conversation though, because it's finally, we have something at least to look forward to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this better results. That's all we want. We wanted better results for the longest time. We're going to get better results. Now, is this going to turn into a whole publisher buying war? I don't think Microsoft's going to buy another publisher. They will buy smaller studios for sure. Still, that's going to continue.
That's what I think.
More of that. I don't think Sega.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of people think Sega. I don't think Sega's going to be next. I think it's just going to be more smaller studio.
It's going to be smaller.
Get more studio. Yeah. Because a lot of people think, oh, what's Sony going to do? They're going to buy Square Enix. And I'm sitting here laughing at my friend Kofi, like, what exactly is buying Square Enix going to do when Square Enix pretty much already exclusive on PlayStation?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say on the acquisition front, I think from Microsoft's perspective, going forward, I think they'll be wanting to give themselves a little bit of a break. The way this has been going on.
I don't expect to see any kind of big acquisition for a long time from Microsoft.
It's going to be a number of years. Little studios are really easy to wrap up because you're just talking to a couple of people, you put it through, that's it, done.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think they'd buy another big one after Bethesda, and then they came around and got Activision.
Yeah,
and I definitely think they're going to come around and get another big one after Activision. That's probably the biggest.
I think the only difference. I think the difference in this case, and I think regardless of the size of Microsoft, will be and how much money they make will be the fact that now we've outlaid the best part of 80 to 90 billion pounds into the gaming division. Before we look at further investments of similar size, we need to start seeing a turnaround in the performance. Now, of course, we know the performance of Xbox has started to increase. We know the consoles are still selling well. They're still tracking above previous consoles. We know Gamepass as a whole is actually into the profitable margin now. Phil Spencer alluded to that in the FTC discussion, saying, like, listen, my hierarchy wouldn't allow me to not be making a profit and not be profit making. Like, they would absolutely be against a non-profit making organization. So they are tracked at that profit and loss. So we know Game Pass is profit making. By how much, who knows? I would imagine it's very marginal right now, but it's profit making, and that's not because of the actual sub fees. And I mentioned this the other day. When it comes to subscription services on gaming devices, which is completely different to Netflix and Disney Plus and things like that, Netflix and Disney Plus do not have additional methods of purchase. Once you've got a subscription, you've got a subscription. That's it. With PS Plus, with Game Pass, with all of those, you can still buy the games. You can buy expansions. You can buy microtransactions. You can buy skins. You can buy add-ons. Like, these are all filtered through. Like, everything that is related to that is a knock-on effect. So, yeah, I've got a sub-service, but a lot of people, like for Starfield, for instance, will be buying the £30 premium edition upgrade because you don't have to spend 100 betting the Ultimate Edition when you can just buy 30. You've got the game on Game Pass, and you're getting early access. So there's automatically making money on a premium upgrade that people didn't originally mean to buy and then now wanted. And you've seen the same with the likes of Hivebusters. You've seen the same with Forza Horizon 5 when that came out. Like, it had 4 million users or something like that before the game officially released, because everybody bought the expansion, the Ultimate Edition expansion on Game Pass just to play the game early. So these are all knock-on effects that subservices can have. And again, with you still being able to buy the game, a lot of people still have that mindset, and I think always will, if they truly enjoy a game, specifically non-first party at least, third party, second party, things like that, and you know that game won't always be in Game Pass and you'll get the notification that's going to leave, you'll buy it. And people do buy it. And some people, like me, will still buy the Ultimate Edition, the full Ultimate Edition of Forza Horizon. You'll still probably go out and buy Starfield as a whole. You'll still do X, Y, because you want these games anyway. You just want them regardless of whether or not they're in a subscription service. So you still spend money. And that's the difference between game subscription services and regular subscription services, which is why they cannot be compared. And Sony can absolutely do that. They can absolutely make money off the back of this, and will make money off the back of PlayStation Plus going forward. So subservices isn't a detrimental factor to the industry. If anything, it drives more consumer spending than you would ever think, because it's okay, well, I've saved money on the game, so what else am I going to spend money on?
You know, it's funny though. A lot of people are like, okay, so we still get collector's editions.
Yeah,
we got those for Starfield, we got it for Spider-Man 2, but a lot of people are like, oh, but we're not getting the disc. I mean, we already had this conversation. Discs are on their way out. It's already digital as it is. The reason why this new PS5 that's going to come out, it's going to have a detachable disc tray. Yeah, that's on its way out. Most people who bought their games were digital.
I think the UK market is something like it increased. It started off at something like 70-30. It was like 70% digital, 30% physical. Now, because of the pandemic, etc., that's increased further over the last couple of years, and it's closer to 90-10. Yep. To digital physical. And that's a huge difference. It's more convenient, but at the same time, this is where subservices come in beneficial to a point. Is you're not outlaying on the cost of a game digitally, because you've got it in a subservice, which means you get that day one. You're only paying a marginal fee. The one thing that should change, and I think has to change, is if you're going to continue to make physical, then naturally you're going to have distribution and production costs in there. But digital sales going forward needs to see that difference. It does not cost the same to distribute and manufacture a digital version of that game as it does the physical. So the pricing cannot be on par. You cannot sell a game for 70 digital and have that game 70 physical. It doesn't make any sense. Like, financially, it makes zero sense, which is why, probably why publishers... I don't think that
will ever change.
When
it comes to be able to share games with one other person, that won't change.
With consoles, it's iffy. PC, we don't have this
PC's
issue.
different. PC's automatically cheaper on day one anyway.
Which kind of adds to the question you might, I don't know, when we start getting into that all connecting, everything's all connected type of conversation. Can you start gifting PlayStation games to PC players? When they eventually do this, I don't know if they're going to have a launcher or something like that on PC, but when they eventually
if they go through the same route that Microsoft did with Play Anywhere, do you mean, where you can buy a game on PlayStation, it's available on PC,
and it immediately on PC? Exactly.
I see. I don't. The problem is I don't think PlayStation would ever do that.
Yeah.
I don't think PlayStation would ever do that because they want to sell two versions of that game.
That's it. Yeah.
Microsoft does. Microsoft are just like,
they want you to spend 70 and then 60 or 70 again.
Again,
when it comes to another
want to
platform.
keep those two markets apart. I think that's really a thing. Microsoft wants to unite its ecosystem. Yeah, they've always been about, okay, come on, we are not able to compete in the console space.
Yeah,
we are just not. That's what they've seen years ago, many years ago. That's why they started in 2015. The Play Anywhere initiative. I think it was 2015, right? When Quantum Break came out, was the first Play Anywhere title. So
I think so.
So and then of course with Game Pass and backwards compatibility, they said, okay, come on, we make this ecosystem because that's something where we can separate ourselves from. I don't think that Sony wants to do that. Sony wants to keep the console market and the PC market apart. They want to be part of the PC market, but they don't want to merge those two together.
Yeah.
While for Microsoft, it's always been about, okay, let's bring and unite those ecosystems, just like you have with basically everything else that you own. Yeah, when you buy a digital version of a song, it doesn't matter. You don't buy it for one particular device. You can play it on your phone and on your tablet and whatever. And Microsoft is trying to do this kind of approach.
Yeah.
But I don't think that Sony wants to do that.
And it makes sense as well, because it sounds silly saying it makes sense, but as you mentioned, Microsoft cannot catch that console market. They can't. It's physically impossible at this point to catch a 150 million kind of console leader. You can't do it. And again, yes, they've only got 30 plus million or 40 million or whatever it is on PlayStation 5 currently. But PlayStation 4 is still there. They still have users purchasing content on PlayStation 4. And until those move over, and they inevitably will, over to PlayStation 5, then they still have 140, 150 million user to service on consoles first. So they've got a large chunk of their user base.
I thought it's just me.
So yeah, a large chunk of that user base there. But moving over to Xbox is an entirely different ballgame, because Microsoft and Xbox only have, say, a combined user base of something like 60 million across the two gens, 70 million maybe, which is half that of the total amount that Sony have got.
Exactly.
So they can't, they have to service everybody in order to compete. So they're saying, right, okay, well, we definitely can't compete just on console front, so we need to make sure that the service offering is available on console, PC, mobile, cloud. We need as many people to get into this ecosystem as we can in order to compete. Sony don't need to do that. They can have an additional and service that as a side thought, which is what they're doing with PC. They're saying, okay, it's not coming day and date to PC. It's coming 6 months to a year, if not a little bit longer down the line. And that's when we'll see kind of those content, because they don't need to. They still make enough money on the current consoles and console market in order to service that. However, Jim Ryan has admitted that the amount of sales that they've got from first parties just on console is not substantial enough in order to remain a console thing.
That's why they want to see exactly. You're spot on. They want to, or they need to. Especially with growing game development costs and longer durations, which is equal to more cost. You have to find more and different ways to monetize the game you made. But it's a very big difference if you just want to enter another market. And even the judge agreed. Judge Cawley agreed in that case. Okay, PC is a different market. It's a different target
beast.
Audience. Yeah, exactly. Different rules apply there.
I think the one thing that kind of caught
never ever be able to release a game at 30 FPS on PC.
It wasn't just that. I think the one thing that I don't think she couldn't kind of understood was, she was like, "Come on, everybody's got £1,000 PC." They were like, "No, they don't." Surely they do. During the pandemic, everybody worked from home and got £1,000 PCs. So no, they didn't. No, they really didn't. They were lucky if they got a cheap £200 laptop. Go on, work from home. It wasn't. I think that was what kind of persuaded her. I think it was more kind of the nuance behind it. People were kind of like, no, not everybody has a high-powered PC, Judge. Even Microsoft and the FTC and everybody involved was saying, no, that's not the case. The vast majority of PC users or people with PCs don't have high-end ones that can play some of these games. It was amusing. But
they still think we play at 4K. Obviously, we play 4K on PC. We play at 1440 high performance. But excuse me.
Yeah. But Jen, I haven't actually got your thoughts on the PI thing anyway, and what the judge's thoughts were. So, what's kind of your breakdown on it?
I'm still not really interested in all the talk. I haven't really paid much attention to it. You listed off a hefty list of stuff that I don't really remember because it was a while ago now.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to finally see this almost at its point where it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've seen a lot of ridiculous shit over social media from a lot of ridiculous people. Some of those people actually deleted their accounts yesterday or signed their accounts
happy
out
day.
or
That
something.
was a happy day.
Is it true that Crab Gamer
Changed again.
deleted his account?
No, that was
Saltiest did.
Salty.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah,
Okay.
stay salty,
Yeah.
everybody. Stay salty.
Yeah. It's just a whole lot of shit I don't really care to talk about. I'm just glad to see this almost finally at the end of the road. And
Yeah.
hopefully we can move on past it. But we know that people aren't going to shut up no matter what. They're going to be whining.
Oh, dude, they're
Because
gonna move the goalposts.
That's what
like,
people do.
Yeah. This whole time, Final Fantasy came out. You think these dudes are playing Final Fantasy while this court case was going down?
No. They did what they did best. They were on Twitter talking shit.
Briefly speaking
Yeah.
on Final Fantasy, actually, and it's not just the opening sales that have dropped, but the actual month after sales have dropped significantly as well. Like that's not performing well at all. Final Fantasy 16. It's just a shame because from what people have played, aside from the fact that the opening, the vast majority of the opening portion is heavy on CGI and heavy on movies and things like that in the opening section, which makes the gameplay a bit slow to get into because it's very trailer oriented for the first 2 hours
They
or
dropped
so.
the performance. They dropped the performance or the resolution like 720p just to get it at 60 during combat or something.
Yeah.
And then like it immediately shoots back to 30 when it's in that, I guess, visual mode or whatever. It just immediately does it on the fly. I don't know.
And the problem
weird
you've got,
concept.
and again, people have tried to say this about many games before as well, before we get back to the kind of discussions on that, but people have tried to say this many times before about games, and this is where it becomes an issue. If you have to tell someone, oh yeah, but after the first 3 hours it gets fun, that's automatically an issue. If straight away you say, yeah, but after the first 3 hours, then it starts to get you got to grab with any game. The opening hour and a half needs to be on point to grab
Opening
someone.
the game needs to grip you, needs to make you want to continue playing the game that you're investing your time in. If it doesn't get you within the first hour to 2 hours, then you kind of lose it.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, and again, they try to do something new, and hats off for them for trying to do something new with the with Final Fantasy, but it was not my Final Fantasy. I'll not be picking it up. I did say beforehand I wasn't going to pick it up. I'm more of a turn-based JRPG fan. Always have been, always will be. Final Fantasy 7 Remake I kind of got away with. Final Fantasy 15 I kind of got away with because it was a mixture of still having that party system, still being slightly turn-based on both of them, especially 7 Remake. But 16 just ditched that. There wasn't a party system. Yes, you had a dog companion, but it was more of a hack and slash, to be honest, an action game. So it is what it is. They learn the hard way on that one. But
I think the biggest thing about all this, like FTC losing and Microsoft winning the whole court case thing, is there's still a chance the FTC can appeal it, and they've got up to I think the 14th on midnight to do so. Whether they do or don't is another thing.
I mean, they've rumored that they said they're going to, but being brutally honest, and this is the one thing that they have to realize, they can't appeal it based on evidence they've already presented. It has to be on new evidence based on things that they didn't present. Now, the fact that they went into there and they presented what they presented, which was everything they had, there wasn't any fresh documents to add to that. Appealing the decision based on no new evidence and the facts are already presented and the decision already been made, there isn't grounds or facts presented in order to lodge an appeal. So even if they lodged it, there's no guarantees that it will be granted.
A judge will basically tell them no.
They'll
That's what
deny
I
the
think.
appeal.
Yeah.
They'll deny it.
Yeah. Which is what I think will happen. I think the FTC will make this Hail Mary. They'll try to lodge an appeal and it'll be denied.
Yeah. Make even more a fool out of themselves, right?
Yeah, it's just wasting. Again, we're not in the US. I know BitCloud is, but it's when we're talking about these authorities and it's wasting taxpayers' money. More so, and I know the CMA are trying to do it now. It seems, and we'll get into the CMA's thoughts in a moment because they've obviously there was alterations and changes happening following this with the CMA. But what we've seen outside of the EU and every other regulator with both the CMA and the FTC is stalling tactics, which is just wasting taxpayer money. It's a lot of taxpayer money as well, tens of hundreds of millions of pounds wasted with stalling tactics just to try and get companies to just give up, which is essentially what they're trying to do, is getting companies to give up. FTC have been, even outside of the Microsoft case, have been doing that consistently for the last couple of years with Lena Carr involved. They've been dragging
if you don't
it
have the
out.
financial, if you don't have the financial resources like Microsoft do, of course, eventually you just give up because you can't afford to pay the lawyers anymore. You can't afford to wait for certain deals. I mean, it's also.
So that's the tactic they use. And again, it's and these are all businesses that would have been legitimately fine closing that they've intentionally stalled so that they can't close. Not because there's any factual grounds to stop them from closing, because they don't have it. They've just pushed them and pushed them and pushed them to the point where they just go, I give up. I'm just sick of it. The difference is they've got certain companies like Meta and like Microsoft who go, no, not a chance.
We have a long breath.
We've got deep pockets and a lot of time. Try it.
Yeah.
And it hasn't played out for them. So that's the difference there. And now we get on to the CMA. And of course, with the announcement, and I said this literally, it was about 10 minutes after the FTC things, people were saying, okay, so it's finally done. They're going to close over the CMA, etc., etc. And I said, and this was before the CMA decision came out, before everybody was made aware of it. I said, what I'm likely to see after the PI has been denied is that we'll see movements from the CMA to discuss further remedies or changes to this deal in order to get it closed, because they will walk back on it. What we saw no less than about 20-25 minutes later, we got the news that the CMA, Microsoft, Activision Blizzard had unilaterally agreed between the three of them to pause the CAT proceedings, not end them, pause the CAT proceedings in order to discuss either restructuring or remedial effects in order to get the deal closed. Now, there was some preemptive things that came out from American reporters saying that they'd already agreed a small divestiture that would get the deal closed. However, the CMA came out following that exclusively to The Verge in a statement and said discussions are at an early stage regarding looking at potential restructures that might satisfy our concerns. With, the only concerns they had was around the cloud segment in the UK. Now, bearing in mind...
So what do we think is early stage?
Early stage was they've literally just began talking about it. Now, the thing is... The thing is,
it's a literal phrasing. How much time do they actually have left? Because if we look at
the 18th, right?
The
18th. That's Tuesday next week.
But that's not.
So that's the one thing.
But
then we have the CAT appeal is
24th.
Somewhere 24th, 5th, something.
I think by the 24th. Now, Luke is also, and I've seen him. Thankfully, you're going to have Luke on tomorrow, and he'll go into this a little bit further.
Yeah.
But the 18th, for anybody that isn't aware, the 18th isn't a solid do or die point. That is, they can kind of choose to extend it beyond that point. They can kind of ignore that. It isn't a do or die. It's not an end of discussion point on the 18th. So they don't have to close it by then. They can just agree to continue on and get it done within a month and ignore that deadline. or they can kind of discuss an actual extension if they think it's going to go beyond another few weeks in order to kind of revisit that. Now, personally, what I feel like, and we have to look at the numbers here, xCloud users in the UK were about 2,000 people. That's based on the facts and figures from Microsoft. They said the amount of people that use xCloud in the UK is about 2,000. It's not big by any stretch of your imagination. It's between 2 and 10,000. It is a small section of the cloud market. The divestiture could be that xCloud is restricted from getting Activision Blizzard content in the UK, specifically in the UK markets. Now, we know that can be region locked. We know in certain regions around the world there aren't X games in Game Pass. There are certain Asian markets that have games in their Asian Game Pass that we do not have. There is certain markets in certain European territories that don't have content that other Western territories have, like the US and the UK. So we know that there are region things that they can do in order to say, okay, this section gets it and this section doesn't. My thinking is the divestiture, regarding, even though it would, in my opinion, be consumer negative because it doesn't provide options, and I think it would go against what is classed as pro-consumer. Should it appease the regulator in the UK in order to get the wider transaction done, then they could say, okay, well, xCloud will not get day-and-date content of Call of Duty like the rest of the market will. They will get that.
That'll probably likely only be for a
And
time,
only-
though,
and that would
anyway,
only be-
until
that would only be
becomes a
cloud.
bigger thing.
That would only be the cloud action as well, though. That's not including Game Pass, because that isn't there. They didn't have an issue with multi-game subscription services. They specifically mentioned cloud. Now, how many people would realistically play Call of Duty on the cloud in the UK?
I'm not.
Very few. Very, very few.
So
You'd have to be a madman
do we
to play
think
a
the
Twitch
realistic
shooter.
thing here is that they just say, fuck it, the market isn't substantial for xCloud in the UK with regards day-and-date content of Call of Duty, etc. It's not big enough to lose a 70 billion transaction. Do we restrict specifically just the cloud segment in the UK and just exclude that? And all of the markets get xCloud for the Activision Blizzard content. However, everybody still in the UK gets Activision Blizzard content on Game Pass. That, to me, sounds like a very easy workaround. One that I wouldn't be arsed about. I don't play xCloud. The vast majority of people I speak to haven't heard of xCloud or know what xCloud is. And we don't really use it. Even us, we don't really. You occasionally turn on a game to. I mean, Boxy, you'd be fine. You're in Europe. You'll be all right. But in the UK, me, Jen, Mick, we don't use cloud. We don't. I mean, we occasionally turn it on every now and again to get your.
I don't know what you guys are doing on that island over there. So,
but like it's very, 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 very minute amount of time if I actually turned it on and tried it. It's obviously you're right. Cloud, it really isn't that important. I don't think, but I just don't know if they would do it, because it's just a weird look. It is just a weird look if they own Call of Duty and then basically get the lesser version on the cloud, even if the cloud doesn't matter. I don't think it's something like that. I think it's more like a deal that they would do, like. One of the concerns from the CMA was like, okay, if we would agree to all these statements of Microsoft, we would have to track them. Yeah, so. But they've already said as well in their statement that they won't accept remedies. It's just restructures.
Yeah. So yeah, but hey, things changed. They also said that's our final decision, and here we are. Like, yeah. So I wouldn't count that out. No, I think it's more something that has something to do with that. Like, really, they found a way to ease the concerns of them, to make it easy for them to track the actual agreements Microsoft did. Maybe they even double down on these agreements and say like, okay, we give the the cloud suppliers the full share. We won't make any, benefit, profit of bringing cloud games to other service providers like Call of Duty. They wouldn't make money on it when they sell it on one of these other cloud providers. Something like that I could see, but I don't think that it will.
To Red Monkey Butt in chat. Jez just says it because he's a pessimist. He doesn't mean it. I would ignore what Jez is saying because Jez just wants it. He's saying it and he means the opposite. He said the same thing about the. He said the same thing about the PI.
Case.
Yeah, he said the
and
same
now he's
thing
got
about
to chug
the
a bottle of hot sauce.
He doesn't actually want it to be blocked. He doesn't think it will be blocked either. He's he's just saying it. He's saying it to be a pessimist. He's basically going down the and that's what Jez is. He always thinks the worst, and then if the best comes, then happy days. That's Jez. But yeah, don't read.
I think a lot of this from what I've heard from Jez is coming from the fact that he doesn't trust the system, and I can't blame him for that.
Yeah. It's got nothing to do with the deal. He just doesn't trust the authorities and the regulators.
Yes. Exactly. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. And like you said, luckily we have Luke tomorrow on, who is an actual mergers and acquisition lawyer in the UK. So
yeah, he's working with the CMA.
He can maybe share more insights in what is actually possible and what are actual options. And if something like this has ever happened before, what have been other cases like this? Yeah, so we will find that out tomorrow, definitely, man, on the world of gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen, what do you think this minor restructure or something might be that'll appease the CMA and get this over the line?
I'd agree with you with the Gamepass thing, the xCloud thing. If it ain't getting used all that much in this country, then what is stopping a little bit of content coming from it? It's not going to really do any damage to xCloud, is it?
And like we say, it's not like a block.
The numbers of xCloud now, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
It's not a permanent block on xCloud. I think it'll just be a case of ABK stuff won't be coming to xCloud in the UK.
Oh yeah, but it'll only be for a time anyway. So like say 5-10 years, like while cloud gaming starts to build up a presence, and then they can sort that back out
at a later date. It could just be like a temporary restructure and just say, okay, for 5 years we will not have ABK content in the UK, like for xCloud, specifically the cloud segment.
Yeah, that's what I think. It'll be something along those lines. It's not going to be a permanent xCloud block. At some point, cloud gaming is going to become more popular, but it's not going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah. It's more long term, maybe 5 to 10 years. So
I've always said this about.
That's what I feel.
I've always said this about cloud gaming, cloud in general. The only time this thing's going to pick up is when national infrastructures worldwide are up to the task. Like we're talking in public, we're not talking in private. Like private networks can do cloud, that's fine. But when you go out in public, a lot of these 5G areas are still terrible. They are absolutely dog shit. They are not 5G. Like there's still poor signal, poor speeds, and the actual performance you get on mobile gaming via the cloud on the go isn't great unless you connect it to Wi-Fi. So until these national infrastructures are severely upgraded worldwide, cloud gaming, mobile-wise, isn't going to take off, like in the way that people think it is. It's still going to be that nascent market for a good, like you mentioned, 5 to 10 years at least. And that would take severe investment by governmental bodies and everybody involved with the internet service providers and the networks in order to invest in that infrastructure first until cloud is then really a viable public offering as opposed to just private offering.
Yeah, I was going to say something. It came to mind and now it slipped out. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, I had this issue yesterday. I was doing my coffee talk thing and I was in the middle of a sentence and I just went pop, gone. I was like, shit, never mind. if it comes to you,
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I don't think the CMA want to be the only country that, try and block it.
no.
The FTC have tried and failed. I feel maybe the CMA thinks they probably will lose some
Of course.
whatever tribunal it is because
I
it's
mean-
for such nascent issues anyway. They're bound to lose it if they take it to the tribunal. This is why they've decided to put a pause on it and come to the negotiation table to figure things out, which likely is going to get figured out. I'd be very surprised if the CMA then block it again and continue on with the CAT tribunal.
I agree. I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, they've seen when it comes what happens in court. I mean, what would be different in the UK than to what happened in the US? You would have a different judge, and of course you have certain different rules in court, but at the very end the arguments on both sides would be more or less the same.
Yeah.
And they've seen how if you go in this without any bias or agenda against the tech industry, they've seen what happens. How an independent judge would rule. Yeah. So what would be different in the UK? Nothing. So they know what's going to happen when they appeal at CAT and CAT actually goes through. And
They're also like the only ones that have always commissions that have looked at it that have a problem with the cloud side of things. No, none of the others have attempted to block the deal on this cloud stuff.
yeah.
So I feel like they're going to sort things out.
Yeah.
It'll probably be by the end of this month. We'll have a proper knowing of what the CMA's next decision's going to be.
Yeah. I
Could
think
come as soon as next week for all we know.
I think by the 24th. I think with them saying that the discussions are early, I think the decision will be by the 24th. And the reason I say that is because, of course, all they've done is pause the CAT proceedings. The original date of the hearing is still the 24th, which means that if they don't have something before that date, they can resume CAT proceedings and we'll go to trial on the 24th.
Yeah.
Which is essentially when they would be able to do it by. So I think, and again, I also agree that we'd be going up against kind of decision making that doesn't make sense with regards to what was presented in terms of the market, the cloud market. It was inaccuracies in the reporting of how many users use cloud in the UK. Inaccuracies onto how they got to those figures, like they did with the 5-year versus 1 year, and they changed it, and all of a sudden they were like, okay, cloud market, so your console market's fine.
No,
got no
they had
issues.
to be corrected on their math multiple times as well. So,
So I think there's some inaccuracies there that if went through CAT proceedings and those inaccuracies were actually fact checked and changed, and they got a better understanding of how the cloud market works and what it relies upon in order to work, they would understand that theory of harm over a 5 to 10 year period is even less than what they thought it would be. Like, cloud isn't all of a sudden overnight within the next 5 and 10 years going to massively jump up in popularity, because there's so much infrastructure change required in order to make that happen. Like, it works good in a house, but as I mentioned, mobile, like it's an actual mobile cloud offering, it's shit. That's for every cloud service. It's just not good enough. And it's going to take a while to make that happen.
yeah, that's the thing. Cloud is still in its infancy. Is it really worth Microsoft's time worrying about bringing Call of Duty to cloud right now? Worry about that 5-10 years time when cloud is actually a big thing.
Yeah, 10 years, they probably scrapped the whole thing. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point. I mean, who knows if cloud gaming is still going to be a thing in 5-10 years' time? If the infrastructure doesn't get to where they expect it to be, is it worth investing in those technologies to bring cloud gaming into the forefront?
I mean, look at Sony.
Only time will tell.
Look at Sony. They bought Gaikai. Gaikai can't even still give you a smooth experience on PlayStation now. So,
Yeah,
it is what it is. It's
Yep.
too rare.
What do you think then, BitCloud? What do you think the CMA is going to request from them as restructural remedy in order to get this done?
You know, that's the tough one, right? Like, obviously, aside from the cloud situation, I don't know. It comes down to what exactly they think they can benefit from it the most. I'm guessing 24th. I do expect this to be over with as we go into the hearing or whatever, and then that's going to be done because pretty much everybody except for the CMA has okayed this, approved this, or is it someone else?
Yeah.
Did I miss someone?
No.
That's everybody.
That's basically the last straw. I mean, in the US it works different because they don't have to approve it per se. It's only that they can file injunctions to
Right.
actually forbid it. So, but since that was denied by the judge, they are good to go now. Outside of the UK, of course.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know, man. They're gonna be the odd one out. So they're it might be fun. It might become the case like, hey, Microsoft, you pay for our legal fees or something. I don't know. It's I don't know, whatever the case may be. But hey, I'm just happy that it's over with. That's all I'm caring about.
Close to.
As we get
Or
back to the
close to.
game.
Well, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, finally. Every how long we been talking about this?
Year and a half.
1.5 years.
Yeah,
Year and a half.
every month.
Bloody hell, it feels like it's been longer.
New details.
Feels like we've been talking about this for
I'm like,
about 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like all our channels were turning into Hoag's Law. Shout out to Hoag's Law. But it felt like we were all trying to be like that. But no, I'm just glad that it's over with. Now we can get back to gaming. Everybody benefits. Then Activision can go do a thorough cleaning, get rid of everything, fix everything, and then we get things proper.
Yeah.
And I know Microsoft did have some layoffs in the midst of this, but I expect obviously more opportunities for those said developers when everything is smoothed over. So
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now,
everybody, Evan Wells.
yes. Yeah. Seen that.
Oof.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. But it's been a long time. 25 years.
Yeah. Well, that's not even what I was going to bring up. Yes, 25 years. You know, he's done phenomenal. He's given us Uncharted. You know, the Last of Us with Neil. That was a co-project. You know, he's been that guy. He's been a driving force for PlayStation. Now he's gone at 25 years. I don't know where he's going to end up. That's the funny thing. Like, where does he go from here? Does he retire? Or does he take another gamble? You know what I mean? On another studio. We don't know.
Does he have just a break from it for a bit? Like, if you've been working solid for 25 years, you probably want a bit of a break.
See, maybe. But I brought this up too because we still haven't gotten no update on factions.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, after the whole situation with Bungie saying no to what they were proposing to be their live service module for Last of Us Factions 2, I'm wondering if this is playing a factor in it as well. Because right now they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's been talks about like, yeah, Last of Us 3 is happening, but they're not. It's like it's up to Neil, right? Neil was like, he's not sure if he wants to do it or he's not sure how it's gonna go, how they're gonna go about it. They already wrapped up Uncharted altogether, so they can't fall back on another Uncharted game unless they do a full blown reimagining of this, which could be his daughter.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know what's gonna happen. So it is worth noting, like, what's going on in Naughty Dog. We still haven't got anything from Naughty Dog. If you think about it, aside from a re-release of Last of Us on PC and a TV show.
Yep.
Yeah.
So who knows, man?
The next portion of this topic, though, is a little bit more interesting, and that's where does the industry go now once this deal is closed? What will happen in the industry? This is obviously going to be a knock-on effect. We know it's going to be a knock-on effect. It's
going to be a dog-eat-dog world.
Yep. But it has been going on. This is one thing I do want to stress before this. The Activision Blizzard transaction was not the start of consolidation. Consolidation has been there since the dawn of console gaming began.
Mm-hmm.
All of these platform holders, whether it be Nintendo, Sega, Sony, Microsoft, they all consolidated to a degree in order to get up and running.
Mm-hmm.
The reason the likes of Google, The reason the likes of Amazon have not hit it off is because they haven't consolidated. The reason they haven't been competitive is because they haven't purchased the studios to get going. They haven't got the talent on board in order to make games.
That's because they've half-assed both of their projects. Amazon have half-assed Luna and their games developers that they had. I think Amazon had one semi-successful launch with New World. They launched another game that came out and then went right back into beta not long after it came out. So yeah, that's the brunt of Amazon's experience. And Google, they had a few things and they ended up cancelling them. So
Yep. So consolidation's been there since day dot. Sony, when they first entered the market, consolidated the living shit out of things. They bought Cyanosis, which
They
was
do
one of
now. How many studios has Sony bought in the last 1.5 years since Microsoft announced the ABK acquisition?
5, I think.
10?
Was it 10? No, was it?
It was close to 10.
Yeah, all in all, if you include Nixus and things like that.
Nixus and Firesprite and all those studios.
Yeah.
They are buying studios left and right, man.
Yeah. It's a different type of consolidation. The difference is people look at a publisher and they think, oh my God, the world's ending and like that the whole market's doomed. Like, no, it's quite the opposite. Like,
pick like Activision, one of the only publishers out there, though.
there are literally
Take a look around. There's plenty.
hundreds of thousands of publishers worldwide. And that's not even an understatement. There is hundreds of thousands of game publishers worldwide. There is tens of millions of software developers. And there are literally millions of game development studios worldwide. So there isn't this like consolidation is, yes, it's happening. It will continue to happen, but it always has happened. There is no real organic. Like even to create studios now, you have to consolidate talent. So you're always acquiring something or someone in some way, shape, or form. Even if you're starting a studio from scratch and investing in building a studio, you're still poaching talent from somewhere, left, right, and center, in order to get them on board. So there is a form of consolidation in every part of the business world. Always will be, always has been. And it will continue going forward. This isn't the catalyst. This isn't going to be a case of Sony's going to go out and buy Take-Two or some massive publisher in retaliation, because that's not going to happen. And for anybody that tries to claim that they can afford a Take-Two investment in cash,
It's just ironic.
I don't know how we got to that point. People saying Take-Two. No.
Take-Two will never sell up.
Yeah.
They make far too much dirty money off of games like GTA Online.
I'll say it, like GTA by itself brings in 5 times more profit than any single player game that they got, especially for Microsoft.
Just wait till GTA 6 comes out. That game is going to be monetized.
And watch it have its own separate
possible.
event. I guarantee they're going to do it on their own separate event. They don't even need PlayStation or Xbox to show it off. They can make a tweet. Like, hey, we're going to do like a official reveal on YouTube later. Boom.
And they literally will set the internet on fire.
Oh,
Yep.
See Gaz,
That's the thing
Gaz
about,
in chat there saying
Rockstar
BitCloud is
games.
an Xbox gamer now.
What?
Rockstar games have become so powerful, they don't need to rely on any studio to push their game and advertise it. GTA will sell on its name alone.
Yeah.
Wait, somebody's on my Xbox gear?
Gaz in chat there saying BitCloud's an Xbox gamer now.
Oh, gosh, shut your ass up.
Oh, dear me. Good evening,
The only
guys.
guy that makes content in the shower. That's so weird. What's up, guys?
Oh, dear me. But yeah, so
Hey,
where
Gas,
do we...
by the way, they want me gone. They want me gone, Gas. I want you to know that. They want me gone. I
Yeah.
don't like them too, bro.
Oh, dear me. But yeah, where do we see this market going now then? What do you think? What do we think is next for the market, Boxy? What do you think is going to transpire after this deal closes? What do we think Sony and
Like I said
Nintendo
earlier, I don't think that immediately, and with that I mean the next, let's say, 3 years or so at least, much will change.
Yeah.
So that's just not gonna happen. We could see, I think what we will see is the way how game services will be handled, I could see Sony trying to compete more on that end. Who knows? Even Nintendo might do something like that. And I really think that when we look at this holistically, the biggest change will come on the mobile side of things. I expect them, like they said, to try to get their own storefront on iOS and Android. And I think that will be the biggest game changer. For console gamers, again, nothing much will change. Yeah? You will get in a couple of years starting to get Call of Duty in Game Pass, and that's more or less it. So I don't think this is going to set the world on fire immediately. What I do think, though, is since Microsoft's gaming division will be growing overnight in a significant way, it will be way easier for them to make other investments. And much like you two said, I don't expect them to buy a new publisher immediately, but they will definitely have easy cash within Microsoft to get like smaller studios, the 100 million studio here, the 200 million studio there. I will think that they will do a lot on those kind of investments. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what it's not just the industry. I wonder about the community, because ABK has been this dominating talking point for 1.5 years now. Yeah. And what will be the next big thing? Is it going to be the mid-gen refresh consoles? I don't know, something. But that will be interesting to see. What is the big talking point? Because games, of course, we all love to talk about them, but there's always like another topic in the industry, So this will be really interesting to see what is the community making of this, and what will be the big talking point there in the foreseeable future. So after the acquisition,
I think after the acquisition, we'll still get people doubting that certain games are going to be coming to a multi-platform. Yeah. And they're going to be shouting about exclusivity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then for
people
titles,
still don't think that Starfield is going to be exclusive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that too. It's like, dude, they have to honor all commitments. All commitments will be honored until the thing is done. That's it.
Yeah.
They flat out said that. Otherwise, that's a lawsuit by itself, and they're not going to go through another lawsuit. Everything's going to go. If Sony signed on for, like, let's say 3 CODs before this thing even happened, you're going to get your 3 CODs before everything happened. Then what happens afterwards is up to them. So I don't know why people are upset about it.
Yep.
And it will be interesting to see. I mean, Sony didn't sign the deal.
Yeah.
Right?
I know. That's the other thing.
That they didn't sign the deal. So
well, to be fair, Jim Ryan didn't sign that. I'm pretty sure Sony wouldn't give a shit. They would have signed whatever the hell it was and moved on.
Yeah.
This is Jim Ryan's doing.
But yeah, to be fair, his counter proposal was fucking ridiculous.
Yep.
I want all games guaranteed from Activision Blizzard on our console forever. I also want to renegotiate everything to do with Bethesda titles.
Yep.
No.
It's like, while we do that, we own them.
Yeah. No, it's not happening. So the original deal is available to you if you want to take it. If not, it's your problem, not ours.
Man. This next showcase better be lit. Hey, John, what up, bro? This showcase better be lit. This next one, it better be good.
What do you
think?
Better
be good, I swear.
What do you think is going to happen after this? Then, what do you do? Who do you see the competitors going to close after this in order to kind of consolidate a bit more themselves?
I mean, so many people. You guys already brought up the funny one with Take-Two.
Yeah,
people brought that up. I already brought up Square Enix and how they could buy Square Enix, but how at the same time it wouldn't really benefit them as much because Square Enix pretty much always makes stuff exclusive to Sony. So I don't see why they would do it unless they're afraid down the road, right? I just see more of the smaller purchases. Like I think Sony would, if they're smart, they will look to try and get find like a neat find those hidden gems. Like, for example, they only spent $250 on Insomniac Games, and has been the S tier studio. Yeah. I'm thinking if they're smart, they will look for investments in those aspects. Look for those studios that can put out the quality games at a record pace and just keep it going. That's what they need. They need those type of studios because Naughty Dog fell down for me. I don't know about y'all. Naughty Dog's down on my list a bit. Insomniac's been the one thing that's been keeping Sony afloat, or not afloat, but relevant in these past couple of years. That's been Insomnia games. So
Insomniac have been carrying Sony.
Yeah, you still got Wolverine. So again, just off of that alone, you would want more studios that are that versatile. You know, I'm not saying you can't invest in these bigger ones. Like a lot of people are saying Embracer. Embracer's not going to get bought.
No.
A lot of people brought that up. Embracer's not getting bought. But you would want a studio that can put those type of games out there, you know, branch them off, invest into them, spread them out. Like I can guarantee you Insomniac Games is going to get even more staff after this whole thing is done. There's going to be more devs getting hired just to push this stuff out and prolong it and get games out there fast. They're going to have to.
The funny thing about the Embracer thing as well is I don't know why people bring that up because Embracer as a group aren't gaming. Like they have game developers and they have some publishers, but as a whole, they've got music creators, clothing firms, insurance companies, like production facilities, like nothing to do with gaming. Like the vast majority of the portfolio has no factor in gaming at all.
It's very weird because if you remember, the last thing Sony invested in was supposedly Warner Bros. They were trying to buy something from Warner Bros. But this isn't game related. This is something else.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're trying to, go in towards. But if they're, I mean, if Sony really wanted to just, I don't know, stick it to you type of thing, Rocksteady. But again, Rocksteady, would they make a purchase like that for Rocksteady? I don't think so. I don't think Rocksteady's even up there for them. So I don't know. It's up in the air. I do see more consolidation though. I do see smaller companies getting bought up. I do see
I would not be surprised, BitCloud, if they did go after Square Enix.
Yeah. Just to have like you got a publisher.
The only one that would be harmed by that now would be Nintendo.
That is true.
Yeah, true.
Microsoft.
A lot of people keep asking Sony to go after Capcom, but Capcom have been in a good place for the last recent.
Yeah, and they also got burnt.
5 sort of years.
They also got burnt with Street Fighter V only being on PlayStation. Like that did not work at all.
Capcom have been very successful in recent years. So they were in a rocky place when Resident Evil 6 came out because that was terrible and they were making terrible decisions back then. But they got their heads screwed on, and now they're making a lot of really profitable decisions that are good for them.
Yeah,
and they're going to keep doing that.
Yeah. There's only one publisher I don't want to see either Sony or Microsoft buying, and that is Ubisoft.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to see. I think Ubisoft is a waste.
We've spoke about this before. Yes, they've got IP, but there is so many more. If you think Activision Blizzard is a clusterfuck of management, you have never seen nothing like it with the Ubisoft.
You ever seen Eos Gilmont? Eos Gilmont.
But even then, they've got like 400 studios or something worldwide. They've got more staff than
more than 20,000 people.
That's like the only benefit I can see personally if they bought them, like just the workflow, you know what I mean, that workforce type of thing to get more happening type of thing. Sure,
but they're another company that's got like 11 studios working on Assassin's Creed, for instance. They've got like a big
and
chunk
then
of
the Star Wars,
the
new Star Wars game, which did look good. That looked really, really good. But and I guess you're finally going to get Skull and Bones, so I think they showed it again. So, but
that game just needs to go in the bin.
The problem is they can't. We know the problem with Skull and Bones is Ubisoft would probably want to bin it, but they've got contractual obligations with a government that they have to put that game out.
I can't remember what government it is though, but they've got some sort of contractual obligation to make that thing come out, and that government is persistent that they want that out.
It's because the
if I was that government, I'd take a look at that and go, maybe you should cancel that.
The government's invested in it, which is why it's like an art grant that they got for it. So they have to put it out. because the government want a
Yeah.
return on that investment.
I should put that right on the 50 pence shelf.
Oh dear me, dear me.
Even then, it's still too expensive.
A minor bonus today. We saw a little post from Gamescom, didn't we, Boxy?
Oh, yeah, we
Sega's
did.
gonna be there. Sega's
Oh, yeah.
gonna be there in person. Also, Jen,
It's gonna be awesome.
a little bit of maybe minor jealousy here. Mortal Kombat is playable at Gamescom, so I'm probably going to be playing that before you.
Oh,
True that.
Street Fighter better though.
that looks in.
Well, the beta
Also
for that
true
should
that.
be right around the corner now, because you could pre-order that and get the beta, so it might come out around about the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen that and I thought of you.
Because I want to play it. I want to play it. I've avoided a lot of gameplay for that, but I've seen some and it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I never got a chance to play the beta. I wasn't fortunate enough to get the code for the test server thing that they were doing. But yeah, I should get the beta no matter what, because I've pre-ordered that. So
Sweet. But yes,
it's
Sega
just whenever that beta comes out.
on the way to Gamescom. So, Boxy, what you hoping to see from Sega at Gamescom then? What are we hoping to see there?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I mean, I did like the new Sonic, the 2D.
Yes, the new one that they're doing. What was it called again?
2.5D. Yeah. So I did really like that. I'm not sure. I want to see something new, and something fresh. I'm not too big into fighting games, so no real excitement on that end. Yeah, but man, it is so cool to see that they are coming. Because we've been talking about this, Dutch. It's not just because we are going. I mean, yeah, sure. You want that excitement, but it's like, yeah, E3 is gone now. It's gone, and it's gone for good. So what is going to take over the international stage for game presentations and whatnot? And I feel with all these publishers coming now basically everyone has been confirmed but Sony, right?
Yeah.
Like it's huge, man. It's huge. Yeah. We are already talking about maybe hopefully getting some behind closed doors peek view for Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk DLC, of course, yeah, and stuff like that. And Microsoft's gonna be there, Nintendo's gonna be there, Ubisoft, everyone is gonna be there. It's gonna be awesome, man. And Sega is great. It's great to have them there. It's exciting times, man.
Yes, indeed. And only around the corner, only 6 weeks away until we get
6 weeks.
our new Gamescom conferences, we get our new game reveals, and even more gaming things to talk about, and that's what it's all about. And as BitCloud
I finally
said,
get to meet you for the first time in person, man.
yes, it's been a long time coming. Years.
It's been way too long coming, indeed.
Years in the making. But it's going to be... it's going to be a blast going, but it's, again, equally as we mentioned at the beginning of this stream, it's going to be good to see talking about games again. We had a little bit of a nice lull point around kind of the E3 period where there wasn't anything happening with the FTC stuff because we knew there was PI trials afterwards and we knew that the CMA stuff was after it. So everybody stopped talking about it for a bit because there was no updates and we knew there was not going to be any updates until that point. And we could just concentrate on the games, which was the conferences and the Sony event and then the Xbox
It was
event.
so cool.
Yeah. And it was good. It was good. And I am so looking forward to this thing being done by the time Gamescom comes around. And we can just concentrate on
You guys
game
not
news again.
going to PAX next year, are you? PAXes?
No, not so far. Not so far.
No.
Okay.
Are you going to go
No
to PAX
plans
East?
there.
Are you going to PAX East?
That's the plan next year. PAX East.
I know the
yeah.
Iron Lords always go, so it'd probably be good for you to go even if you just hang with the Lords.
Yep, but I wants to go, so we're gonna go down there.
Nice. It's a debate. It might be a little bit cheaper than going to the likes of E3 though. To be fair, because it's not LA.
I mean,
It's in the East
is-
Coast.
E3 is pretty much done. I mean, at this point, I don't think we're ever going to see E3 again. I mean, it's just going to
It's already been-
not for good.
It's already been
Yeah.
cancelled for the next 2 years afterwards.
Yeah, it's dead. It's done.
Yeah.
So you have E3, you got Keeley show, which he moves around, if I remember correctly. He doesn't really stay in the same area. So
Yeah.
you got Keeley show, you got Gamescom, and you got
Yeah,
PAX.
G3, Jeff.
Jeff 3.
Speaking of, where's Gamescom this year?
Cologne.
It's always in the same place.
Oh,
It's
so it's
always in Cologne. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 500,000 people to attend.
400,000. 400,000.
450. It's closer. It's getting there.
It's massive, dude.
Yeah.
It's massive.
I feel sorry for all of you having to put up with those stinky gamer pits.
Yeah, so the good thing is we
Oh,
missed the
God.
weekend. We missed the weekend, Jen, because we intentionally did this so we don't have to deal with the big crowds. We go the 22nd until the 25th, which means we catch it in the quieter period. The weekend,
Yeah,
on
during
the other
the
hand,
week.
is like going to Disneyland in the height of summer.
Even worse. Even worse, man. It's like insane. Over the weekend, it's just crazy. So yeah, we are going there on Tuesday. Hopefully, we will get tickets for the opening night live. They haven't started the accreditation yet, but it would be cool. And then Wednesday is the press day. We hope to get content creator passes, and then we are here for Thursday, first public day. Yeah, but since it's during the week, we already have the tickets for it. And then we stay till Friday with the public days, and then it's gonna be awesome, man. It's gonna be fantastic to meet so many people from the community as well. Meet all the other creators for the first time. I cannot wait. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. It's going to be a very good time indeed. A very good time.
And you're planning on doing a live podcast, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the plan,
We're
yeah.
going to attempt it. Yes.
They're gonna
You're gonna try and get Phil on live.
I don't know whether or not that would be it. But
If he's up for it, man.
Yeah.
If he's up for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You never know.
You can only ask. You never know.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly. But we are meeting up. I know we're meeting up with Aaron. We're meeting up for drinks and something to eat as well with him, so that'll be good. And I know there's quite a few other There's definitely a few other. We're definitely meeting up with Jez. We're meeting up with John from Xbox Era. Gaz, of course, is coming with us, so be there with Gaz, and it's myself, Boxy, Mick.
I'm a little scared of gas, man.
Yeah.
Where Gaz goes, Sauce follows.
Guy's a damn vampire. Never see him in the sunlight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. But a huge shout out to all the over 100 people that tuned into today's podcast. Thank you very much for the support and all the new subscribers as well. Much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Let's get into our outros. First and foremost, the General C. Let people know where they can find you, brother, and what you've got coming up.
Yeah, you can pretty much find me everywhere. If you look at my name over here, the @ name there, that's pretty much me everywhere. Not sure if I'll be back streaming this week. Probably be back next week, but who knows how I'm feeling on Friday and Saturday. We'll see. Yeah, I'm usually on Twitch there, although Twitch is still making some dumb decisions. That's where I am for now until I decide to switch it up again. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Next up, BitCloud. Let people know where they can find you, brother, and what you've got coming up. I know I was looking at your channel the other day as well. It's been a while since you've done a podcast. What's tickling?
I do. I've been enjoying the summer. Taking I took a break, man. Yeah, man. Like I told you, I've been on a weight loss journey. So we lost over 40 pounds. So
Well
I feel
done.
amazing. And
Congratulations, man.
this Friday. So we're not doing the show. Basically, we're not doing the show probably for 2 more weeks because I'll be gone. I'm going on a cruise starting Friday. Yeah,
Nice.
so I'm gone. So again, I'm enjoying my summer, but when I get back after these 2 weeks, then I'll go back to, I'll get back in rotation with everything. But that's where you can find me. It's Big Cloud Gaming, which is right there. You can find me there on Twitter. And yeah, come on over,
Yes.
Have
indeed.
fun. Have some fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for having me as always.
Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. And last but not least, of course, Boxing Burger. I'll let people know where they can find you, brother, and what we've got coming up tomorrow.
It's very easy to find me because it's Boxenberger everywhere. Yeah, of course on YouTube, but also on Twitter, on Xbox, on PlayStation. It's Boxenberger everywhere. So definitely hit me up, man. We have the World of Gaming coming tomorrow, which is going to be awesome. We will have Luke Steele as a guest tomorrow, who is an actual mergers and acquisition lawyer in the UK. So he will definitely help us to understand what are the options now for Microsoft and the CMA. We will also get his thoughts, of course, on the court case in the US. So that's going to be awesome. Dutch tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time, or 8 p.m. Central Europe. So, and other than that, I'm always around playing Diablo these days. So if you see me online in Diablo, just hit me up. I'm always up for a party. If I can, of course. Sometimes I can't, man, because I sometimes play some dungeons during work meetings or in between work meetings, and then I cannot join the party, but most of the time I can. So
Nice.
yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. And again, you can find me everywhere at WandrinDutch. Right here every Wednesday, of course, for the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. Wednesday evenings on prime time. And, of course, Thursdays with World of Gaming, co-hosting with the awesome Boxing Burger there on his channel. We've, as you know, outside of this regular stated show, we're pretty much ad hoc with all the other stuff. So it's as and when. If there's anything worth talking about, then we do weekend editions, which is why they haven't seen a weekend edition in a little while, because there's not really been the news to cover. I wish there had
news
been.
has been very quiet.
But even when it comes to TV series and things like that, with the writers' strike at the moment, all that stuff's being pushed around and pushed back. So it's going to be a while till.
Speaking of TV series, have you guys seen The Witcher?
Not the new
3?
one yet. No.
No.
I'm good.
Is it good?
I'm good, thanks.
Was
I'm
it good?
It was good. It was fantastic,
I
actually.
said the only TV show I've been watching is Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
I won't watch Witcher now. Now that Henry Cavill is basically done with that and he's being replaced, I have no interest in watching that.
I'll watch it and then I'll not watch it after that. I'll not watch the next one.
That's like watching
I'll
Game of
definitely
myself
watch
to do
it because it is good. It is well written.
I'd rather get the books and read them. I haven't read those books. That might be my next purchase after I finish going through A Song of Fire and Ice. Ice and Fire, sorry.
Nice. Awesome stuff. But yeah, once more, thank you to everybody in chat. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And for those on audio platforms after the fact as well, I hope you enjoyed it. And please make sure if you did, drop us a rating on those audio platforms. It does help, of course, massively on those platforms. I know we don't have many listeners, but for those that do, we appreciate you as well. And until next time, guys, have an awesome evening, and we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
See you later.
So yeah.